Guys, welcome to math class. We are going to try some new effects with iMovie today.
Remember, today our mathematical practice is understanding and persevering. So you're going to make sense out of graphs and solve problems. Here's our first example of a scatter plot. We're comparing the number of pets owned with the owner's age. And you'll see we have all these points plotted on our graph, but they are just scattered. You couldn't even put a line in there to make any connections. This graph shows two things that are actually connected. So it shows television size and price. As the size of the television increases, the price increases, which is what we would expect. So we could say that as X increases, Y increases, and it shows a positive linear relationship. Here we have a graph that shows the relationship between the amount of calories in 12 sandwiches and the amount of fat in each of these sandwiches. So if a sandwich has 600 calories, you could reasonably assume it has about 30 grams of fat. This data set shows a positive correlation or positive slope. This data set is just a total scattered mess. We couldn't put a line in there. And this data set shows a negative slope or a negative correlation between the two factors. This scatter plot shows a positive linear relationship. X increases and Y does too. Now this one shows a negative linear relationship. As X increases, Y decreases. Here we have a nonlinear relationship. And finally, we just have a scatter. We have no relationship. These points show no pattern. Remember to persevere and look for those patterns as you guys interpret scatter plots and determine how two quantities are related. Thanks. Hello, my fabulous 8th grade math students. Today we are going to look at some real-life examples of scatter plots in 2020. Our first graph shows how many rolls of toilet paper two different American households purchased per week in 2020. You'll notice that in the first few weeks of 2020, they purchased maybe 6 to 8 per week, but then as we get into mid-March, it goes sky high. I don't know why everybody's using so much toilet paper or buying so much, but that's what happened. And then it dropped down to 0 because they ran out. In week 15 or 16, they couldn't find any on the shelves, so they had to trade with their neighbors for a plate of chocolate chip cookies. Soon, they started seeing some extra on the shelves. So if we were to draw a line to follow this data, it would be a non-linear curve. Our next scatter plot shows the number of days that you actually change out of your pajamas during the COVID school closure. At first, you're doing great and you're changing out of your pajamas 7 days a week. Rock star. But as the weeks go on, we find that there are fewer and fewer days that you change out of your pajamas. So we would say that there is a negative linear correlation between changing out of your pajamas and the number of weeks of the COVID school closure. Our final graph shows the number of snacks consumed by students during distance education as the days in quarantine increase. You will notice that at first you start out pretty disciplined. You're eating, 2, maybe 3 snacks a day. But as the days go on, all of a sudden you're consuming 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 snacks a day. And so we would say this is a positive linear correlation. As X increases, as the number of days in quarantine increase, the number of snacks, or our Y, also increase too. So for the love, go for a run, get some exercise with your family, wash the car, wash the dog, I don't know, get moving. So good luck with those homework problems. You guys are going to do great. And I would love to see your own examples of data that you can think of that would make us laugh in the middle of this distance education COVID closure. Bye, you guys. You're wonderful.